Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. It looks like we're live on at least the one. Locals connected first, even before. Oh, there's Rumble. Okay. Man, it sure does bounce a lot. Golly. Oh, man. I'm on one of those collapsible tables. Oh, you know what? I wonder. I don't know. Geez, I got a stupid sleep schedule. It's like I'm not getting enough sleep, and I keep worsening it. Geez. Crazy. All right. So anyway, let's start. Welcome to Wise Guys Entertainment. This is your host Wyman. This is Movie Nuggets. We're going to cover today Transformers: The Last Night from 2017. So saw this again recently, and I had to revisit it because I couldn't remember my thoughts on it, other than it was kind of awkward that they were like exploring. I think they were trying to explain the it was around the Crusades and also the whole Knights of the Round Table idea, and that Transformers had been around during those times. And I started watching this movie, and I was thinking, "Holy crap! What the hell's going on?" It was like all over the place. Like you'd have Mark Wahlberg. It's one of the two or three movies where they replaced Sam Witwicky, played by what's his name, with um, Mark Wahlberg. Uh, formerly of the Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch fame, singer, rapper turned actor. But he's working in a junkyard, scavenging scraps and stuff, and uh, he's friends with Bumblebee. This might be the second of two or three movies that Mark was in the Transformers series. And then it goes on for that. Goes on with the whole junkyard and the scavenging for a while. And then you've got Optimus Prime frozen in space, just floating around. I might have to watch the entire Transformers series from scratch at this point because I've lost track of the order in which these things happen. And this, as a standalone movie, is so bizarre. It's like I said, it's all over the place. So Optimus is floating in space, and coincidentally, he runs into the planet Cybertron, which apparently is still around. But I guess even though it's still around, it almost looks like it's abandoned, like it's lifeless. But there's this entity there. It looks like Cybertron's in disrepair. There's this character, Quintessa, that supposedly rules there. And I'm not sure, but it's as though that she runs Cybertron, or she took ownership of it when the Transformers that we know as the main characters left on the Ark, uh, retreating from the Decepticons who were chasing them down. They crash land on Earth. Uh, oh man, Michael Bay really screws up the canon from the cartoon, because at least from my understanding, the Transformers originated on the planet Cybertron, where they lived a robot existence. In Michael Bay's version, I guess they've been around for centuries on Earth, and maybe prior to that, the original Ark actually landed on the dark side of the moon. Um, Man, it's going to take me some rewatches to refresh my memory and try and figure out what the hell happened. But then they got Bumblebee. In this film, he actually gets a voice box so he can speak supposedly his normal voice, because later on Optimus recognizes it. I don't know where to go with this because things spiral out of control. Then you got the guy, I forgot who the actor is, but he is in the military. He's chasing down Mark Wahlberg's character. And then you've got that one guy who is perceived to be a lunatic, but he works for the government. And he's got that crazy voice. It kind of reminds you of Kramer from Seinfeld. So he's also on the hunt. And then you've got Sir Anthony Hopkins, who, if I understood correctly, is supposed to be a descendant of the Witwicky family. So he's somehow related to Sam Witwicky, or the bloodline, related to the bloodline. But he's like a historian and a scholar, and he's been investigating the whole Knights of the Round Table history and their correlation and relationship to the Transformers. And then there's this British gal who's also involved, who gets in the picture. She is reluctantly pulled into this thing because it turns out that oh wait, maybe she's the one who's a descendant of the Witwickies. But there's supposedly this staff that she has a connection to, that is from the ancient times of Merlin. I guess the concept is magic doesn't literally exist. It's all based off of Transformers technology. So Merlin was at one point gifted a device that transforms into a staff that gives off the impression that it generates magic. And that's how Merlin got his reputation for being a sorcerer. But this staff is, let's see, that British woman is able to, is the last person in the family line, I guess, who's capable of retrieving and, I don't know if it's accessing the staff, but retrieving and using it or wielding it. It's really weird. And quite confusing, at least for me. So I spent over half the film trying to understand what the hell was going on. All this stuff at the beginning was jumping around from like story to story, and then they all kind of converged. And then the military guy ended up teaming up with the British gal and Mark Wahlberg's character. They went on a mission. Ultimately, they're trying to prevent Cybertron from merging with or connecting with the Earth, and the Earth is at its core the original Unicron, which makes no sense to me because Unicron is a planet-eating robot. And I thought, in comparison, Earth was considered very tiny compared with Unicron. In fact, I thought Earth was smaller than Cybertron, but maybe I have it backwards. In any case, they all eventually team up. At one point earlier in the movie, well, you know what? It might have been the Maker, quote unquote, the Maker, which is named Quintessa, who I think is supposed to be related to the Quintessons from Transformers the Animated Movie. Insert graphic here of gears turning. So I guess that was how Michael Bay was going to draw in the idea of Quintessons and maybe introduce Sharkticons later on. So anyway, I think it is her who infects Optimus and Megatron and some other key players in Transformers with some sort of virus that puts them under their control. So initially, Optimus is chasing down and hunting down Transformers and Mark Wahlberg's character, and he was even fighting against Bumblebee for a while. And I already forgot how in the world he got rid of that programming, but you can tell they're infected when you see a bunch of red markings on part of their face, because once they're free of that programming, I think it's also in the eyes, the color of the eyes, then the redness disappears. Same goes for the eyes, if I remember. So it's like, use these drops to get rid of red eye. Anyway, I'm already going to have to rewatch it because I think I passed out while watching the movie. I got as far as a huge battle scene where the Brit girl and the Mark Wahlberg character, with all these things falling down, there was this huge complicated mission where Mark Wahlberg, the Brit girl, and the military guy and some soldiers had to do like an airdrop onto a platform and then I guess retrieve from the platform the staff, which only the girl could wield. But meanwhile, the soldiers had to give them cover, and also at the same time they're fighting against the Decepticons. It's a huge mess. It's like you take a bunch of different parties, different stories, smash them all together, and then whatever's left of the debris, you make up little groups and retrieve the parts that are left and turn them into some closing notes. The semblance of a little story. And that's the end of the movie. So, crazy. As a standalone Transformers movie, I don't think it's that good. I am going to rewatch it because, again, I think I passed out during part of the movie. My brain just got so... Well, not only was I tired, because I was doing like a movie marathon, but I so much of my mental capacity was focused on trying to understand what the hell was going on and try and stay focused and up to date. But they had so many damn stories squeezed into one movie that found it challenging. Um, so when All right, so what was I making? Why was I commenting on Bumblebee other than the voice box? Oh, the weirdest thing was going on. I don't know where he learned how to do this, but anytime Bumblebee would get trashed and ripped to pieces, literally ripped to pieces, chunks of arm, leg, head, he had a way of remagnetizing or something and reconnecting. He was like a robot version of Deadpool. So he'd reconnect his limbs and parts, and he was back to new. When did he learn how to do that? And isn't Transformers: The First Night like the third movie in the series? Oh, geez, that was crazy. And it seemed like Bumblebee was the only one who could do that too. Um, there was, let's see, when Optimus was evil, they kept calling him Nemesis Prime. So I guess that's like Nemesis meaning evil or enemy. Prime being based off his name, Optimus Prime. He's one of the primes. One of the trans, Transformers classified as Prime or top tier or ultimate. Um, so there's that. I wonder if that means that Megatron, since he was infected, if that made him Nemesis Megatron. And then, as I mentioned before, I touched on Earth is supposed to be Unicron. And at the end of the movie, I don't remember if it was I think it's a start of credits scene, but you see the shadowy figure, kind of looks like an Asian girl once she pulls back the hood, but you see what looks like a gigantic horn coming out of the Earth's surface, and I guess these military guys are this operation is investigating it and trying to figure out how it ticks and what it is and identify what it's made of. And ultimately, I think that's basically further clues that they're going to explore the Unicron story. Again, Earth, I imagine, is too small to be considered Unicron. And I think it's a weird idea to consider that Unicron started as Earth or vice versa. Um, I personally think Earth should be at least the size. Let me see. Mars and Neptune are about the same size, aren't they? I think Unicron would be bigger than Saturn. His very mouth needs to be able to consume an entire planet. So the rest of his body is huge. If his mouth can wrap its claws around a whole planet. So maybe the size of Jupiter? I think that might be reasonable. So if Unicron was the size of Jupiter, then he should be able to easily consume, obviously, Pluto and Mars, but Neptune, Saturn he might struggle with a little because it's bigger. ignore the rings. Um, should be able to consume Uranus, I would think. Unicron eating Uranus. Oh, all right. Anyway, can I say that? Anything else I was going to bring up? I guess that's it. Oh, one of the characters in there is this young, scrappy, resourceful, yet sometimes annoying, and uh, I think she's a Mexican girl. Didn't they have a Mexican girl as the lead in Bumblebee as well? What's this about the Transformers movie constantly having Mexican representation? I don't know. I had to be on the lookout when I go through the whole series of movies. I am thinking about watching Transformers 1 soon in the near future. That's that animated movie that came out, I think, a couple years ago. But I want to watch Transformers the movie, the original animated one as well. But I'm going to go and watch all the Michael Bay movies too. And if I'm not mistaken, the most recent live action one is Bumblebee, right? Or is it Beast War? Beast Wars. Oh, it might be Beast Wars now. Well, I'll try and do it in order. But for now, that concludes Transformers The Last Night from 2017. I want to thank you all for joining me on Movie Nuggets, and you all have a great one. See you on the next stream. Bye.